Hello everybody and welcome back to Extra Holiday Games. I'm Extra Holiday and we are now in a different version of Lava Reef. Hold on, gotta run fast. That's what he says, right? Right. Still trying not to talk about the game. Still not doing super great at that, but you know, whatever. Guess I could talk about what happened the other night, when I was getting ready to work on my midterm the other night. It wasn't the night it was due, it was another night before that. But I was getting ready to work on it, right? You know, usually before she goes to bed, my mom will come in and she'll you know, just touch bases basically. And, you know, and normally I keep my door closed so that so I don't have to worry about the dog coming in and, you know, messing stuff up. Because, you know, she's a puppy. She's less than a year old, and she's well-intentioned, but she's not always well-behaved, I guess. And yeah. So Mom comes in, and the dog comes in with her as per usual. And, you know, we are catching up and whatever, and, you know, and Mom goes to leave, and, you know, of course the dog follows her. And as they try to squeeze by my recording setup, because I kind of just have, like, I believe I put a picture of it on my Instagram, which I don't have linked, but maybe I'll link it in the description of this video. But yeah, they squeezed by my recording setup, which is right next to my entertainment center, and my entertainment center has glass doors on it, and I usually keep them open, because that's where I keep all my consoles, and I like to be able to get to them easier. So yeah, they're squeezing by it, and the dog presses into one of the doors. And in pressing into one of the doors, she puts enough pressure on it to completely shatter it. And then suddenly there's broken glass all over my floor. And and so my parents and I spend the next, I don't know, probably half hour to 50 minutes or so cleaning it up. And now there's even still, like, tiny little fragments of glass on the floor. Because, you know, you can never get them all. But yeah. And that was the initial, impetus for moving my recording setup around, because some of the glass got onto the table that I use to put my mic on. And so, you know, I had to move everything around and vacuum up everything, and it was an interesting night. Yeah, and I don't know if this is the case, but it might be that my parents, because they were the one. I stepped out of the room for a second to put a band-aid on the finger that I cut picking up glass, because, you know, I'm graceful. And my parents started cleaning up, and they were the ones who moved my mic and stuff, and I don't know, because it's very easy with this mic. It's very easy to accidentally hit the knobs on the side, which one of them controls the output volume for the headphone jack that the mic has on it. And the other one controls the input volume of the mic. So if things sound a little weird right now, it's probably because of that. But I don't know if they nudged it at all, but I do think nudging it in the wrong direction would make it, because I've experimented with this mic a little bit, and it's weird. Sometimes it sounds like pretty good, and sometimes it just sounds terrible. And I think it mostly just has to do with where the volume is at on the input. So, yeah, if things sound weird, then it's probably because the input volume got nudged. But if they sound fine, then okay, well, we're good to go. Oh yeah, and that's one thing I forgot to mention on my in my rant about the video I made for class yesterday, is that one of the reasons the audio, I don't know, maybe I said this, but one of the reasons the audio sounded pretty bad is because normally I record with the mic, or when I record these episodes, I record them with the mic pretty far away, like not super far, but like, you know, it's about a 1.5 foot from my mouth, you know, where I'm making the noise. And it's actually down where I hold my controller, which is why you often hear controller noises. But yeah, I normally record with it about that far away, whereas when I was recording in the closet for my project, it was basically, you know, just a bit a hand's width away from me. And that also probably contributed to why that video sounded so bad. And I might have been able to fix it by adjusting the volume, but I don't know. I definitely didn't have time to re-record everything after I was done recording, because I recorded the audio the day that it was due, and then I did all the editing the day that it was due. The only thing I did ahead of time was write it. I also happened to... I had work the day before it was due, which was kind of unfortunate, especially since it was a closing shift. And when I work when I work any shift, basically, I'm really bad at getting work or getting anything done before work. So when it's a closing shift and I don't have to be until 4, then it's like, oh, okay, then that's just most of the day that I'm gonna be either just sleeping or just chilling. Because I just can rarely ever motivate myself to do something before work. Sometimes I record before work for this channel, but not all the time. In fact, I try not to, because it leaves me super tired at the end of the day. This does take quite a bit of energy. Hi. Yeah, this, like... I don't know if you might have guessed this, but I'm not normally this talkative. I'm not an incredibly talkative person. But when I'm recording, I do try to talk more than usual, because it would be kind of boring if I were just sitting here not saying anything. I mean, yeah, you could still see me play the game, and that might be enough for some people, but I watch Let's Plays too, and, you know, that's not the kind of thing that I like to watch. So, I try not to make it, right? You know, I try to make things that I also would enjoy to watch. Because, hey, guess what? I do have to watch these to edit them, so... yeah, makes sense, right? But I don't know the effective way to take out this guy, but I'm just gonna kind of wing it. There we go. Alright. Cool. So yeah, that's that guy taken down. And that's another story told. I mean, I wish I had more stories, because that would make for good speaking material over what's happening here. See, and that's kind of my fallback when I'm playing games for the channel, is talking about the game. And I'm trying, like, you've heard it before, but I'm trying not to do that, partly because Partly because I feel like it's making me play better, but also partly because it's something I want to get good at. And if you watched my playthrough of Sword, Pokemon Sword that is, then you know that there were like a couple episodes where I wasn't really doing anything but grinding, and a few of those I even recorded commentary for. A lot of them were just, most of it was just silent and I wasn't doing any of that. I just kind of, it's just the game audio and the game video and not me talking at all. But also, some of those episodes I did record commentary, and that was also kind of in service of trying to teach myself how to just talk about other things other than the game, because if I'm grinding in Pokemon, there's really not much to talk about on the screen. It's just, oh look, there's another Snorunt, and that Snorunt is dead. I got crushed. Great. Because I did kill a lot of Snowrunts in practicing, or in grinding. It's a shame. I like Snorunt. I like Frostlass even more. But, which I guess reminds me, I have started a second playthrough of Sword just on my own. Because I did enjoy playing it, but after doing a blind Nuzlocke of it, there was a lot of stuff that I started watching other people's playthroughs, and there was just so much stuff that I ended up missing because I was playing the way I was playing. And I was like, okay, now I can go back and I can do all those things. And yeah, in doing that, and actually watching other people's playthroughs of Sword, I actually noticed something about the design of Sword and Shield, and even really the games as far back as the 6th gen games, that they actually really seem to encourage you to mix up your team as you're playing through, rather than just sticking with, or getting 6 Pokemon and sticking with them through the whole game. Because, like, if you think about it, the whole experience share deal, where, like, it used to be, oh, it's just the one Pokemon that's holding it, and then 6th gen, they changed it to, oh, it's a thing you can turn on so that everyone gets experience for a battle. And then in Sword and Shield, they just made it so that was the default, and you couldn't turn it off. So, if you think about that, like, if you're getting more experience, and especially in Sword, where you're getting more experience for low-level Pokemon, then it makes sense that you would want to switch Pokemon out, because then you'd actually be getting more overall experience, and you would also, you know, it essentially gives you a license to be like, okay, so yeah, I like this Pokemon that I've been using, but also what if I used another Pokemon, and you don't have to spend a bunch of time, I don't know, as much time training up that one Pokemon. And that's pretty neat, actually. And so in my second playthrough of Sword, I've been switching basically my entire team for each gym, and it's actually been working out decently well. And it's actually ended up being, oh, okay, got crushed. Great. It's actually ended up being actually kind of a fun challenge, because like there are a couple spots where like I ran into, specifically, all right, I'm gonna reference a specific point in the game. Shortly after you get to Hammerlock for the first time, and you need to go, I think you need to go Route 6, I think it is, to Stownside. You have to fight Team Yell along the way, right? Like barely after leaving the city, you have to fight Team Yell. And so I hit that point, And because the next gym was a fighting gym, I was running all psychic and fairy types. Because that's the other gimmick of the playthrough I'm doing, that I was only running Pokemon of a type that would be good against the next gym. So I had all psychic and fairy types, but the first Team Yell guy you fight in that fight has a Stunky, which is not weak to psychic or fairy. And it has super effective moves on both psychic and fairy. And all my Pokemon were under-leveled because I had basically just beaten a gym and just switched out my team. So I didn't have any really appropriately leveled Pokemon. Now luckily, I had been doing raids, because that was the other thing in trying to get... I basically was trying to get as many Pokemon as reasonable, excluding ones that I knew I wasn't going to use, meaning ones that I've used a million times before, like, you know, Magikarp, Gyarados, those kinds. So yeah, I had done a bunch of raids to get as many Pokemon as possible, basically, and in doing all the raids, I ended up with a bunch of experience candies, which is probably another thing that they made to be like, hey, go ahead and switch around your Pokemon and don't worry about grinding too much. So yeah, I had a bunch of experience candies that I used, and that got me about up to where I needed to be. And of course, me being me, I didn't want to use too many candies, so I did limit myself on what level I used, or what level I used the candies to get up to. But yeah, it was eventually, you know, I still had to use strategy and stuff to actually beat the grunt, but I managed to do it. And like, I feel like Pokemon games are a lot more fun when they're actually challenging, and so that's why, that's why my first playthrough of Sword was a Nuzlocke, and a blind Nuzlocke at that. Because I knew if I didn't play through it that way, it was just going to be too easy. But then, you know, I thought of this other challenge that I'm doing now, and it's pretty neat. Like, I'm enjoying it. And I'm actually even thought of going back to other Pokemon games and playing through them the same way. Specifically the Gen 6 and Gen 7 games, because those two had the experience all rather than the experience share. Which, oh hey, by the way, if you didn't know, in the, it's funny that everyone, you know, back in, it's less common now, but it's funny that people were complaining back in 6th gen and 7th gen when they're like, oh, the experience share gives experience to everyone, that's too easy. When in 1st gen, that's actually how it worked. It was an item that you could turn on or off, and it gave experience to everyone, but nobody ever used it because in 1st gen, it would tell you in each individual Pokemon that got experience every time you got experience. So it took forever. So yeah, just fun little fact there, is that, you know, experience all is how the experience share worked in 1st gen. So, you know, if you ever run into a Gen 1er who has problems with the last 3 gens of Pokemon because of experience all, you might have a little dirt on him. Oh, I want to hit that. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, actually. It was when they came out on the 3DS eShop that I went back to the 1st gen games and I played through them. And at the time, I was expecting to like really, because I remember how much. I remember liking the 1st gen, but I was 4 years old, so of course I liked it. And when I went back to play it, you know, I had just more recent in my memory was all the discussion about how Gen 1 was actually broken, and which it is, by the way. It is broken. But how Gen 1 was broken, and like, oh, it's so poorly balanced and it's so buggy. But then I went and played it again. And I was like, oh actually, like, if you know what you're doing, this is actually still pretty fun. Like, I don't know. I guess I'll touch more on this next time, but I won't this time. Because as for this episode... Hold on. That's a wrap! Oh hey look, it's the last level.